things changed as well too. And I thought I'd put out another YouTube, but then I thought since we've all been doing Zoom and getting used to Zoom, maybe I'd do a Zoom, and if needs be, I'd follow up with the YouTube. But so just a little bit of where we're at city service wise. I'm probably not going to remember everything, so after I do get a little overview of city services, and then give a little update of where we're at 4th of July in just over 2 weeks. Then I'll open up for some questions as well too. Now, in taking the questions, this is a meeting where I'm just going to state what we have going on. I'm not campaigning and taking positions and that sort of thing, but just to answer questions of you know, what's going on with the city, and kind of like we called it a night with the mayor, and just allow you to see what's going on with the city. Kind of just, you know, have it be a fireside chat, so to speak, if that works for everybody. So a lot of you I could see have used Zoom and know what to do. I can see your mics are muted. So when I do open up for questions, obviously you have to take the mute off on your mic to ask the question, and then put it back on. And I appreciate you muting right now, so we don't have a lot of pictures jumping in. So a little bit of this where we're at on the city. So as you know, state-wise, we went from red to orange to yellow, and that's where we're presently at. And where we're at city services wise right now, we do have the building back open, City Hall, and it's open from 8 to 5. You could come in the front door, and we do have one of those plexiglass things as you come in, so you could talk to a staff through the plexiglass, or we have a box there for people that are so inclined to drop off payments that aren't mailing them in or don't pay online. The Public Works building, we've also installed down at the Public Works building a plexiglass window too, where you can go down the Public Works building and you can ask for through the plexiglass, have your needs taken care of down there. Now, obviously, we are taking appointments. You know, if somebody needs an appointment with like the community planner, for instance, or myself, or the city manager, I mean, we'll take appointments, you know, on a one-on-one basis as well too, and set those up in advance. And then our police services, that building is open from 8 to 2 daily, so you can go in there as well too. As far as city council and planning commission meetings, for the time being, those are still being done teleconference and online through Zoom meetings. And the governor signed an order where it allows them to be done on Zoom meetings. We've had some meetings where the public has needed to weigh in a bit, and that's worked out pretty slick as far as being able to have them, you come in through Zoom or call in. So that's what we've been doing with city council and a planning commission meetings. City council meetings, as a reminder, are held on first and third Tuesdays of every month. And planning commission's meetings are held the second and fourth Tuesday, or second and fourth Wednesday of every month. Centerpoint Theater obviously is still closed. That has been difficult on them. The theater is owned by the RDA. The RDA had to get some rent concessions for 3 months, and then they get extended for another 3 months. But with that said, Centerpoint, their director down there, Jan Davis, and the board are trying to be creative in things that they come up with, and they have a conditional use permit pending with the Planning Commission next Wednesday to try and do some, and they've worked with the county health department on it to try and do some theater in the parking lot, where on Friday nights, Saturday nights, there would be many little productions with scaled down casts that would go for about 45 minutes. So it'd kind of be a drive-through theater. There'd be limited the amount of cars that would come to each session, and you'd have a FM radio, so to speak, in your car. Creative, fun idea. I'm quite excited about it. If they can get that approved and we can get that off the ground. As you know, all our activities for the city were canceled through the end of May. There was a time there that we don't have a health department in Centerville. And so we were following the health guidelines laid out by the state, and in turn, they were allowing county health departments to put down guidelines. And the other mayors of our county, our health director and his department, and our city managers and others have been on meetings every Monday to monitor the situation within our county with relation to COVID. So as you know, for a while there, the playgrounds were taped off, but those opened back up. And we don't have many courts right now. We just have the 2 tennis courts at Smoot Park, and those are open. But we are excited within about the next 2 weeks we will have the Island View redo done. And for those that haven't had a chance to drive by, it's looking very nice up there. I've gone on a tour up there with our Parks and Rec director, as well as our city council and our city managers and others within the city. It's a nice little three-tiered system up there with fun and unique and neat playground equipment items. There'll be a tennis court up there. There'll be 2 pickleball courts. We would have liked to have done more pickleball courts. Usually 4 pickleball courts can fit where there's 1 tennis court, but there's a little problem in as much as there's a main gas line that that goes through that supplies quite a bit of Davis County. And that's going to be needing some repairs and replacement within the next 5 years or so. So we didn't want to spend that money on additional pickleball courts that would be right over that main gas line and then have to tear up those courts. And so there's grass next to the pickleball courts that are going in. So we haven't had to have a lot of courts, and the tennis courts were closed just briefly, only for about a week or so, the 2 that we have at Smoot Park. We opened back up the bathrooms at the parks, and so those are open. And we encourage people to use the park, just keeping in mind to do social distancing. You probably have seen that there has been some activities going on our baseball and soccer fields. That's not our baseball program. Our baseball program had to be canceled and money refunded because the majority of the baseball games, quite a few of them take place in May, but there obviously are teams that come in and rent the field. Now, they're supposed to practice social distancing guidelines. The difficulty probably comes within the stands, but that's where people need to do that and wear a mask. Our committees, our various committees within our city, they were not having activities until the end of May, and now we've resumed our committees, things like Parks and Rec Committee and Trails Committee and Whitaker Museum Committee, but so far they're doing etc. Many committees. I don't want to leave anybody out because all our committees are so important. They have started meetings back up. So far they have done Zoom meetings. Now, and you may have some more questions on that, but I've tried to give you a good overview. So the next thing is In a little over 2 weeks, we have the 4th of July. This has been a heartache for me as far as what we do for the 4th of July, because as you know, that is such a big celebration within our city. Um, and you think of the activities that we do. Okay, we on the night before, on the 3rd, we have the music in the park, we have the fireworks, we have the children parade, we have the booths. Okay, unfortunately, we don't have any of that going on because none of it will really fit within the guidelines. The next day we have breakfast in the park. We have the quilt show. We have the main parade. We have the 5K run that the Rotary does, and continued boosts. None of those activities we've been able to pull off. And as you know, the Days of 47 parade in Salt Lake was canceled, and the Handcart Days parade in Bountiful were canceled as well too. There's, to my knowledge, no parades that are taking place in Davis County. So what we have decided to do, and we've been lurking long and hard on this. This idea actually came about through one of our councilmen, is that we are going to look at doing an air parade. And so we have partnered with 12 of the cities in Davis County, plus the county, in doing an air parade. And it should be quite an event, starting about 9 in the morning. If you look up in the sky, go until 10:15, 10:30. We're hoping to have the F-35 fly over as always, and then some aircraft from the National Guard, and then we'll have some commemorative Air Force. We'll have the EAA. We'll have, these will all be spaced apart. They're not going to be right behind each other. And we'll end it, and these are all professional groups. So this is what they do. And we'll end it up with skydivers, and we're hoping to have a skydiver land in each city. So it's, we're taking it off the ground and to the air to have some sort of celebration. In coordination with that, at about 9 in the morning, we're hoping to have various block captains on each street. And if you have a flag, go out to, you may not be able to see your block captain or even know who he or she is, but go out to your street and at 9 o'clock say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the air show should take place right after that. So we're excited about that. We've been working very diligent on that. I've been working with all the mayors. Councilman Entz has been working with Sky Park and the county. We've been working with the county as well too. And just found out today that the county is so thrilled about it that they want to be able to support that through a small amount of dollars that we need as well too for that from their tourism account. So fun. I just feel that we need that patriotism. As I've talked with people, I think they need it as well too. It works within the guidelines, and you know, we want to lift everybody's spirits at the same time keeping safe. But one thing that was suggested, and you're welcome to do, is to decorate your homes as well too for the 4th of July. And that was thrown out there by our 4th of July committee as well too. We talked about maybe going around and judging them, but I don't know that we will be able to do that because we've been spending time on this air parade, but we would love to see people's spirit by decorating their homes. I have asked the Public Works Department on Main Street to get the 4th of July decorations up that we normally have as well too, because I don't know about all of you, but as I drive down Main Street for that week leading up to the 4th of July and the 4th of July, that lifts my spirit, and that patriotism is really wonderful. So at this point in time, and it's about getting to be about 20 after 8. Scheduled this for about an hour. Could continue to go on, but I want to field some questions if anybody has any. And so, like I said, I will answer the best I can. I will take notes on anything that I may not have complete details on, and I will get back to you. You're also welcome to email me at mayor@centervilleut.com. And if you send me an email to that email, I will either answer that email or get that to the appropriate department as well too, whether it be our city manager, our police chief, our community development director, our public works director, our parks and rec director, our city recorder, wherever it may need to go. I didn't want to leave any of our departments out. Hopefully I didn't, but so you could do that as well too. And then I'll be making some notes here as well too if I need to get back to anybody. So mayor@centervilleut.com. If you don't get a comment in tonight, or where I can either answer or get it to the proper department head. So with that said, I will open it up to questions. Just unmute your mic if you do have a question, and I'll do my best to answer it. So it's open now. And if there's no question, oh, here maybe comes one. I'll go on with some other things, but I think we might have a question.
Well, so Mayor, I was just wondering, how are we doing as far as COVID is concerned in Centerville? Are we doing pretty well?
Great question. Let me tell you, from that weekly meeting I have with the county health department, what numbers are looking like. Now, I don't think that anybody expected that as we came back out of red, that our cases would stay as low as they had been when we went to orange and yellow. The county has tracked COVID for 16 weeks. On week 5 was the highest number of cases in the county as a whole at 68. And then those cases continued to come down to where they hit a low on week 9 of 26 cases. We then started getting numbers in as we'd come out of red to orange to yellow. And the cases have gone up since week 9 to 35 cases, 33 cases, 44 cases, 53 cases, 81 cases, and last week 109 cases. So I think everybody expected that. I know I did. I mean, because, you know, as we had to get businesses open back up and as people started getting out, and I think it's more than just going to orange and yellow. I think it's also the weather got better and people got out more as well too, that our cases have gone up. In Centerville as a whole, it's kind of really unique how things happen within the county. This is a disease that is very contagious if you get in groups. And that can be evidenced by what's happened up in Cache County and a couple of the workforces up there. They had workplaces, excuse me, with some of their workforces. They had very low case rates until it got into a couple of work environments. And then boom, they jumped up. So we've seen that in our 15 cities within the county. We've seen it bounce back and forth as in one city, maybe I heard of one case where there was a family of 10, everybody got it. So that created a situation in a city that really bounced up. So At times in this 16 weeks, we've had some really bad weeks in relation to the county as a whole. But recently, we are doing fairly well. We have had 37 positive cases over the 16 weeks. We have 4 active cases presently. So that is good. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that we don't continue to pay attention to the guidelines of social distancing, wearing masks, that type of thing. The county as a whole has done very well as compared to other counties with our cases. We've gone up, like I've said, in the last couple, 3 weeks, but so have other counties as well too. But we've done very well, and the policies that have been implemented have helped. As you know, initially we were trying to flatten that curve because we had to gear up on our PP&E within our hospitals and our other facilities, and with our police forces and fire forces and that type of thing. Even with cases going up so far, knock on wood, our hospitalization rate and our hospitals are able to handle what's taking place. Along those lines, as you know, some businesses were affected. I don't know that within our city that we've seen a closure of Sonic, but I don't know that Sonic was going to not make it. It was going to make it anyway. So that's a casualty that we've had. But I just came from a meeting, a Council of Governments meeting with all the other mayors and county commissioners that ended about 6:45, and we were discussing the Davis Cares, the coronavirus relief fund, of funds that we will get in to support our businesses. We're going to get 3 rounds of funds coming in, and the first round of funding, there's going to be 10 million available to our various businesses within the county. So we're going to be getting information out to all our businesses within Centerville and the county of being able to apply for some of these funds. As it presently sits right now, a sole proprietor could get a couple thousand, 1 to 9 employees could get 5,000, 10 to 49 employees could get 10,000. This is just in the first round of funding. And you may all be aware of as well too, I know I have been very well of it in my my private practice job of a consulting / CPA firm. I spent a solid probably 3 weeks doing these PPP loans, these Paycheck Protection Program loans for businesses as well too. And those are starting to get to the point that they need to be paid back, but the federal government expanded on those. So there's a little report of what the cases we have within the city. Like I said, we're looking good right now on our active cases. But that hasn't always been the case. We've bounced around, and there seems to be hot spots, as Brian Hatch from our county health department will tell us, that hit the city at different times, or the county at different times and in different places. So that's a little report on both our health factor and our physical health factor and our financial health factor with our businesses. Of course, my concern from day one, and this is part of my concern of why Centerville Cares was formed, and we have such a strong group that helps in that regard, is people's, Centerville Cares is around the realm of the health of people, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial. And so my concern has obviously been, one concern has been people's physical and financial health, but also their mental health as well too. And that's why I think it's important that we can get out where possible. We can do something such as the Davis County Independence Air Day Parade to lift spirits and promote unity and that type of thing. Um, more questions on COVID wise and what we're doing. Was going through my charts, and total cases in Davis County, 685 during those 6-week period, or that 16-week period, sorry. So further questions on that or any other?
Mayor, this is John Hollingshead. Thank
Hello,
you.
John.
Just want to compliment you on the leadership for the air parade. I think that's going to be a great thing for the community and the surrounding communities. Also wanted to compliment Chief Paul Child and our police department. I think we've got a terrific police department.
The emergency people or the block captain.
All for One's iPad, need to mute your speaker. Thank you. Okay, continue,
Anyway,
John.
just to finish the thought, they're doing a great job, and I hope that our citizens continue to support the good job they're doing. And thank you for your leadership in that area as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. For those of you that don't know, John is our community foundation chair, and he does a great job as well too. He and his committee in raising funds for worthwhile things within our community. They've been involved with the Police Week. They've raised some funds for Centerville Cares, and they've raised funds for other causes as well too through the Centerville Community Foundation. So thank you, thanks so much, John. Further questions?
You know, if there's no questions, I'll just bring up one thing that's going to be brought to the community. That is the initiative to build some more pickleball courts. I was curious to see if this group on this call is supportive of that. It sounds like a great direction, and we're excited to see there's been a lot of interest already in that.
Yeah, thanks, John. Let me give you a little background on that, what John has just brought up as far as regards to pickleball courts. As you know, it's a sport, or what you should say, it's a sport plus a great social gathering event that all ages can play. My wife and I had an opportunity, I think it was about almost 2 years now in August, to go up to a national tournament in Brigham City and to watch them. They have a 16-court facility up there, and they were hosting a national tournament. And as I was talking to the Utah and Arizona pickleball director, he was saying to me how, and you'll see this in some of our religious buildings, how there's been lines painted or tapes put down to where it was such an important event that there was leadership within religious organizations that saw how it was an activity that a grandfather or grandmother could play with a grandson or a granddaughter. And so it's something that's really caught on. It's something that gets people out being active. The city council and I took a field trip about 1.5 years ago with our Parks and Rec department over to Farmington. Mayor Talbot and his Parks and Rec department allowed us to come over, and we had some instruction over there, and it was fun to see how the Parks and Rec and the city council got out there and learned the game a bit. It's spreading throughout the community. Farmington has 8 courts. When I played over at Farmington, I have seen many Centerville residents that say, Mayor, when are you going to get more courts in our city? And Mayor Talbot's often said, you need to relieve us some pressure of our courts. Kaysville has like 8 courts. Clearfield's going to be finishing 8 courts. Woods Cross has at least 4. Bountiful up at the old Rocket Park, not Rocket Park, excuse me, the one high on the hill, I'm forgetting the name right now, put in 4 courts. So we'll just have the 2 at Island View, and we're going to need more than that. We would like to see getting some courts in another facility, 6 to 8 courts ourselves. And so that's an initiative that that John brings up, that he would like your input if anybody has it on what your feeling is on that. Obviously, we've spent a lot of money recently on Island View Park, so we'd be looking both a kind of a private-public partnership there, where maybe we could raise some private funds through the community foundation or other methods combined with some public funds. So he throws that out there to you, to anybody that has any comments or feelings on that. You're welcome to chime in.
Thanks for hosting this meeting, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is a little different subject, but if you could give us maybe an update on the procurement of cemetery property. As most know, all plots pretty well are sold out, and seeing if there's any headway on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's one that I thought would there be a question on. I can tell you that I've worked tirelessly, other than a little delay over the last 3.5 months, in dealing with trying to keep our citizens healthy and trying to keep our businesses alive. From within the first month or two in office, and I've been in office now 2.5 years, we started going after various options for additional cemetery space. Many people, including myself, as I was running, says, well, why don't we go up above where the present cemetery is to where the Island View Park's being redone? The dilemma with that is that over the years that we had taken in federal and state grant funds, that's meaning we didn't have to repay them. And if we had done that with the cemetery, we then would have to replace, because we've taken those funds in with comparable park property. So either way, we would have to acquire property. So then when I started into office, I started looking at various things we could do. Looked at 5+ acre plots within the city that were left. There's not many of them. Reached out to various owners of those, and they're all private property plots. Did not find really any takers that would be interested in selling or potentially gifting as well too. I work in the field of estate planning a bit in what I do in my private practice, and sometimes those gifting situations can really benefit someone from an income and estate tax standpoint. I engaged a couple of residents that also went out and talked to some of these private property owners, and couldn't get any takers on sale of those lots. I then went a method with and found and heard that Fruit Heights had done a land exchange and swap, more so just a land procurement from the federal government of about 100 acres up on their hill. And up high is where they put their bike trail in. But down low, there was a flat area of about 25 acres that was dedicated for cemetery land. So I pursued that option as well too. They had an exploratory cemetery committee. They had plans designed to do that. And so I met with the Fruit Heights officials and their exploratory committee, as well as one of our council person and our cemetery person, Bruce Cox. And we proceeded down the road with some discussion there. We ran into a situation where two things. Couldn't get people to really warm up to it within Centerville. And also Fruit Heights decided that there would have needed to be $1 million road that we would have shared costs to get into it. And they determined that they did not want to proceed and not have the funds right now to do that. So then I went back to the drawing board again and threw it out there to the public. Reached out and formed an exploratory cemetery group we'd started meeting in December every month. Various options came up, such as some of our LDS church facilities have ballparks that may not be used, and the LDS church around the nation was selling off some of their properties in various areas to public or private situations. Contacted the church, and the two that we had in our city, they weren't up for sale. And so then we looked at a route of, okay, how about us being able to maybe obtain some land on the hill as well too, that's federal land. So I contacted Congressman Stewart's office, and I have them presently working on that. One thing we run into is that between where the federal land is and where our houses go up to is actually, most of that is privately owned land. So how do you get into that federal land? But we continue to pursue that. And so they're not probably, oh, we've looked at public-private partnerships, you know, as far as partnering with a, like a mortuary home, and those haven't panned out. And so those are a half a dozen ways that we've been pursuing. I leave my email open at any time for any fabulous ideas. That's why I formed an exploratory cemetery group with a dozen or so people, just from various areas around the city. Just 12 plus heads is better than one. So we continue to pursue it. The difficult thing right now is that we have a policy that without much space left, we only have an at-need policy. And believe me, I have fielded numerous calls from residents who have lost a loved one suddenly. And those are difficult calls to take. But fortunately, we've had room to be able to, because they were at need situation, for them to be able to get a plot. But yeah, the plots are pretty tight, and it's a difficult situation. In Davis County, we have about half of our cities that have cemeteries and half that don't. There are some private cemeteries as well too, within the county. So it's a service that you see done by cities. It's not a service that's required to be done, but I have felt, that the public as a whole, the Centerville public as a whole, the majority of them would like to see that pursued. So we're doing the best we can. And I'm a nature that I keep just working at a problem, but I welcome any help in addition to all the suggestions that I come up that are the ideas that we pursued so far and done, and we continue to pursue. Further questions?
Mayor Wilkinson,
Yeah.
has there been any, is there any update for, that maybe we can get on the trailer park? Has there been any progress made toward maybe getting some funding to help the members of our neighborhood who live there?
Thank you. That's one that I had on my list of items that, and I was about ready to go to it if you hadn't spoke up. So what we have it down on 400 West, just south of or just north of Center Point Theater, we have the Centerville Mobile Home Estates. This is a mobile home estate that's been owned for many years privately, and it's now in the second generation of ownership. and the second generation of ownership was looking to sell that property. Those mobile homes, to give you a little bit of background, is those are so people lease their spaces from the private property owner, and they lease their spaces with a unit that they normally buy, a mobile home that they have put money into in buying it and in fixing it up. Some of those mobile homes are old and some of them are newer. Any mobile home that is pre-1976 is not allowed by law to be able to be moved. And we do have some of those. Homes post-1976 can be moved. So the private property owner determined to put the property up for sale. There were some interested parties. And it is zoned residential high. And so this is a matter that goes before Planning Commission. And we had in the month of May some heartfelt Planning Commission meetings that were difficult for all those that were involved over a period of 2 to 3 meetings. Well, the most recent Planning Commission meeting, it's not a zoning change because it's already residential high, so it doesn't come before City Council, just Planning Commission. But it was a zoning use change from a mobile home park to residential high. The Planning Commission approved the zoning use change. And so there is a zoning use change of residential high in there of 8 units. There presently is a study out, a traffic study and other things to determine if the buyer can get a conditional use permit to take it up to 12 units per acre. In the meantime, I have been working on this issue as well as many other people within the city, the county, the state for a couple months now. I've been working with ecclesiastical leaders in that area. In fact, I have a meeting with them next week. We've been working with the Utah Housing Authority. Our city manager has been working on it. The purchaser of the property has been working on it. The Davis County Housing Authority has been working on it. Davis County Commission's been working on it. And I apologize to anybody I may not remember, but I just want, or forget to mention, but I want to see the work that's been done. I've been very surprised that there are not more options available. So the Utah Housing, I just kind of thought that there would be options out there that were available. The Utah Housing Authority has not been able to come up with a lot, but they continue to work at it. Same thing with the Davis County Housing Authority. I called Senator Adams from the Utah State Senate, who covers part of Centerville, and he was not aware of anything state either, but he said he'd look for me. I called Representative Hawks from our Utah Republican House member in the city, and he was not aware of either. I got called the federal senators and congressman office, and Congressman Stewart's office is working on something with me. So we are hoping that through all these various organizations that have been involved, that we can find some solutions and some potentials that those that have an at-need basis will have to be able to go to. To move trailer units, it can run upwards of $15,000, and there's not a lot of mobile home parks along the Wasatch Front left. I am aware of one resident that did move and found someplace to rent up in the Clinton Sunset area, and hopefully potentially has a buyer for their mobile home units. So we're hoping, I see it kind of as an 8-pronged approach. The residents, ecclesiastical, the city, the state, the county, the federal, the public as a whole, foundations. I mean, we have a lot of calls out there, a lot of people digging deep to take care of those that really have the need that can be displaced through this. By law, the buyer or the seller, excuse me, had to give them 9 months notice, and that was first served on them in March, and that 9 months notice ends the first part of January. So that's what we're dealing with. I've been interviewed on the news about it, and my big concern is I understand the private property owner rights, but a big concern has been also for the welfare of those people, those that really need it, that are being displaced. So I welcome any emails or any solutions that anybody else has in ties that you may have to government, private foundations, that type of thing. And we'll continue to work on this and find what options may be available. Thanks for that question. That's a tough one. It's a real tough one. Any further questions? So time slips away fast. We're not quite at 9 o'clock yet. We're about 10:02. I'll maybe make some remarks in closing. I'll give you one last chance for questions if anybody else would like to ask anything.
Hi, I have a question. It's Kathleen Skinner.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, is there any area in Centerville where we can build more low-cost housing that you're aware of?
That's a great question. The state legislature has passed mandates of having low to moderate income housing throughout our cities in our state. And they've given a guideline of about 20 points and you have to meet at least 2 of those. We meet about 7 or 8 of those. And when we talk about low-cost housing, we're not even only talking building of low-cost housing, but there's other ways that you can meet those criteria as well too. Some cities, for instance, Bountiful passed ADU ordinance. That's accessory dwelling units. That's one way to look at it as well too. So within our city code, we do have to find places for that, and so that is an area that we have to look at. Obviously, west of the freeway, there is potential over there on the west side of the freeway. Right now, we have a money in for a grant to continue 1250 West. 1250 West is a street that runs by the Public Works building, and then it has the bridge that goes up and over Legacy, and Farmington's completed down to their end, and we have a grant in for some third quarter sales tax money, but all the other cities in the state do as well too, to be able to, or county, excuse me, not the state. That third quarter sales tax is specifically for developing new transportation methods. If we can get a road through over there, it opens up some area over there as well too for some residential and commercial development as well too, that we could potentially fit some of those units in an area like that.
Thanks.
You bet. Okay, I'll wrap up then. Well, one last chance. If there's other questions. Thanks for everybody that has joined. I'm hoping that if this is something you like, I mean, that's one thing that in our new environment, that these Zoom meetings, I mean, I'm on them all the time. We've gone back to a couple in-person county meetings. I had a fire board meeting on Monday that was in person, and a council of government meeting today at Clearfield, but we were way spaced out with our masks on, those that weren't speaking. But that's one thing nice about these Zoom meetings is it allows us to catch up like this. So if this is something that the residents like, I may be looking at doing this quarterly. But to wrap up, I just want to say I hope that you'll get the word out to all your neighbors about this 4th of July event. It's going to be a fabulous substitute. It's going to be something unique to the state of Utah and possibly other states and the nation as a whole. We're hoping it brings patriotism. We're hoping it raises spirits. We hope that you continue to be good to your neighbors. Our biggest concern, obviously, health-wise, physically of people, is our elderly people and those that have health problems. We hope that those people continue to take precautions necessary. I know on a personal note, it's been difficult for me. I have a 93-year-old mother in an assisted living facility, and for 4 months now, where she used to come over to our home every Sunday for dinner, we go and talk through the window with her. It's just not a perfect situation. So we have to get rid of this thing. We have to do all we can to get rid of it. We have to pray and hope that we find vaccinations for it and other methods for it. But in the meantime, we have to keep our mental sanity about us, and we have to do our best to keep people employed as well too. I think that you can have a tendency for people to get withdrawn and to themselves and get down a bit when they're not able to get out and about. So I hope you're all finding opportunities to get out and social distance. I encourage you to be careful as you go up into the mountains, because a lot of people are taking hikes up our canyons. And our fire chief told us on Monday that practically every weekend for quite a while now, they've been up there bringing somebody out that got stranded. So use the buddy system as you go hiking. We've had some injuries that have happened up there, so be careful as you get out and about and do that. But do get out and about. Reach out, send emails out, call people. Great chance to catch up with those people you haven't seen in a long time. Please, Clark, mayor@centervilleut.com. Any other questions you have, and please as well too, send in any of you business owners in Centerville or anywhere in Davis County. If you need information on this, I mean, we'll be getting it out on our website and other areas to this Davis Cares money. Please get in line, because we're looking for the first applications to go in on this first round of funding on July 6th and July 10th. So please pass that on to your neighbors and others. It's a pleasure serving with you and being your mayor. It's a wonderful opportunity. I never expected a pandemic as I ran. I expected a fire on the Hill, which we had last year, and potential other catastrophes, but a pandemic I don't think anybody could imagine happening. What are they, once every 100 years or so? And so be safe, but be happy and continue to go out there and doing good things. Thanks for joining me tonight, and we'll do it again soon.
Thank
Well,
you, Mayor. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. It was
You betcha.
really good.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate all you do.
Thank you. Thank you, every one of you that joined.